meeting of the Sewer Commission on September 25th, 2018 to order here at Town Hall. And in accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over Lunenburg Public Access. Are there any announcements from the commissioners?
Nope.
No. Okay. Then we'll move right into our first appointment. Mike Carnival, I hope that's close, from the Whalen Village, to discuss our upcoming meter changes. And why don't you come on, if you want to come up, and but maybe just to provide some background, Barb, you've had some communications with Mike, so I wonder if you could just update the commission on what's been discussed, and then we can go from there.
I just, after a discussion at the meeting on the 11th, and the plans that we would hold public hearings on the change of policies that we have before us, and invite the residents of Whalen Village. We agreed to that I would give Mike a heads up as to what was on our minds. So he and I had a conversation, and he asked if he could come before the commission, and I welcomed it.
Okay. And could you just maybe brief what information you shared with Mike, just so we understand what he already knows?
Okay.
So, you know.
All right. It is the intent, I think, of the commission that they're looking at discontinuing the individual meter reading. The Leominster Water feeds the park, and we've just started getting those readings from the Leominster Water Group. And up till now, and going back since the beginning, we've had someone go out and read the meters on a quarterly basis to get the readings off of each trailer. So we discussed that we were potentially going to go with the Leominster Water readings. Also that there was a new meter policy coming down, and that there were potential annual fees and penalties if the meters were not functioning. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mr. Carnival.
How are you?
Welcome. I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Did you have questions?
I think at this point, we just would like to hear what everyone had to say. What direction the town was going to go in, and put those together, and for us to come up with a list of potential concerns and questions that we have once you guys discuss exactly what you want to do as far as moving forward.
Okay, so you're more here to gather information and then have specific questions at this point? Okay.
Once we get some information, there might be some questions that we have tonight. But
I'm sure. Okay, good. Well, that's good. We're trying to get as many people informed as we can. Just so you know, as I think Barb told you, and in the audience, there are a number of regulation changes that we're entertaining right now and planning to move forward with. One of them is to have a new regulation regarding submetering, basically. And as it stands now, that submetering regulation would not allow, without waiver or some other action by this commission, places to have sub-meters. If it would be driven by, we would take in all of our business, the water use, which is what we bill on, is based on the meter readings by whoever supplies the water, whether it be Leominster, Fitchburg, or the Lunenburg Water District. Give us the meter readings. For this trailer park, there are two meters that is one Leominster's and one Fitchburg's, or are they both Leominster's? Okay, so they're both Leominster, but there's two separate meters that Leominster monitors and provides the information like they do for all the rest of the residents. We have been, as Barb said, historically reading meters at each of the trailer locations, each of the residences. I don't know, and I'm not sure if it's relevant. If it is, we can find out who put those meters in or who defined what they were or anything else. But we've been paying people to go read those meters and bill the individual residents. Very similar to irrigation meters, which there's another 50 odd of those out in the world. And that's really what stimulated this whole discussion. Quite frankly, as many years I've been on the commission, it never really occurred to me that what we were calling irrigation meters really included 25 or so of these meters. So when we discovered that, we said that's a gap we need to address. But reading of all those meters has been costing us and costing the other residents money and creating some trouble because those meters are not necessarily maintained or by any entity like Leominster, Fitchburg, Lunenburg Water. So we've had some issues with the meter readings, the meters not being working right, having to go back out. So, and that causes a lot of work administratively for Barb when things aren't right and they don't tie out. And it's consuming for the 80 odd meters that we're talking about. It consumes an inordinate amount of administrative effort. So what we are on the path to do, and just for everybody's information, all of these regulation changes, we have a regulation change policy, so they will all have public hearings, and the public hearings will be televised for people who can't make the hearing. There'll be 2 of them, tentatively right now, and we haven't finalized it, but we're trying to move forward. Tentatively, we're hoping to have one at the end of October, so a month from now, and one at the end of November. And 2, we really want people to come understand and give us feedback, because the regulations as we envision them may be able to be improved upon with public input. So I would encourage the community, and these regulations touch everyone, not just independent meter readings or anything else. They touch everyone. So I would encourage everyone who's in who's a user of the sewer system to come hear out, discuss, challenge, whatever you like. I guess the other background things, what's going along with this, part of our budgeting process last year, because of the additional cost that these manual meters, we'll call them, that we have to read, because of that additional cost, in our budgeting process, we try to do good cost-based accounting, which means you put the revenue the same place the cost comes from. So in this case, because we were paying money for people to go and incurring costs, we decided, even before we knew this issue, that we would implement a fee for these types of meters, whether it be irrigation or other meters that we had to maintain outside of the system, that there would be a fee. And right now, the draft regulation change would have like a $50 annual fee for anyone with a manual read meter that, or a meter that we have to maintain off books, so to speak, that we don't get the data from Leominster or Lunenburg Water District or Fitchburg. So that's one of the regulations and policies that is in the process of being put in place, would be this $50 fee. Along with that regulation, we are trying to standardize, because there is nothing right now that really clearly defines what those meters need to be, what capabilities, what maker, or anything else. So part of this change will be to require certain meters be installed.
And who would incur the cost of that? So if the town changes the type of meter that needs to be there, I guess the question is right now is, how does the other park in Lunenburg do it? They're individual, every unit has their own water meter, and I'm assuming Lunenburg Water is going out there and reading that meter? Is that how that?
That's
so
correct.
Who provided those water meters? Did the town provide the water meters to that park, or did the park owner have to pay for those meters?
That's a water.
That's
we
a
get.
water department.
I
does.
suspect Lunenburg Water.
Lunenburg Water?
Yeah.
So
The sewer department
if something
certainly
comes
did.
out where you update the water meters, does Lunenburg Water go around updating everyone's in that park's meter?
That's up to Lunenburg Water.
To them.
Okay.
All we care is that they give us the meter readings, and we depend upon them being accurate and available.
Okay.
So how they manage their system or their meters is their business. As I'm sure Lunenburg and Fitchburg is the same thing.
So I guess the next question I would have then is, and maybe my father Jim, he owned the park at the time that the sewer was hooked up, the public sewer was hooked up. when you pay the connection fee for each sewer line, what, does that, because it was Leominster Water going to the park, but then there was this agreement that there'd be meters put on every unit, every mobile home in order to get a sewer reading, was that connection fee, was that supposed to include a meter so that we can
No.
get you guys an accurate
No,
sewer reading?
no.
Okay.
Because people without those meters paid the same fee. Same standard, we have a base for determining that fee.
You talking about that 97, oh, and you're talking about the
Yes,
connection fee.
yeah.
Connection
Does not
fee,
include
right.
any meter.
So what does a connection fee include? Like, I just, I had an old unit there, which we already paid a connection fee. We removed that unit, brought in a new one, and I had to pay a connection fee again. So what am I getting with that, for that connection fee?
What new unit did you bring in? A new meter?
Lot,
Trailer.
Oh,
yeah,
trailer.
mobile home 23, I pulled out and brought in a new mobile home, and because I took one out and brought one in, even though it was, I had to pay another connection fee.
It's a
So,
reconnect fee.
Oh, that's a
So
different fee.
what's the-
That's a reconnect.
So.
what does that get me?
Okay, so it's a little off topic, but
Well,
I'm glad you're here.
I'm just
So,
trying to
Barb,
figure out, because
could you-
we're in this odd situation of me getting water from Leominster and sewer goes to Lunenburg.
Yeah.
What is this reconnect fee getting me? Is it gonna give me a way of measuring the sewer because I'm paying you guys the sewer? Or what's the reconnect fee?
Just like the
could you briefly-
regular connection fee is, the reconnect is, it's when you remove the trailer, we're back down to no connection. It causes, we have to have inspections to go check the connections again. It's restarting of the readings and restarting of just administrative. So it's kind of, it's
Okay.
just,
Well, we'll talk about that another, because
Yeah.
I paid fees for the plumber to inspect the water and the sewer hookup, but then I had to pay the sewer commission $1,000 reconnect fee for them to inspect again.
Yes.
So that's where I was getting confused with these fees. I was wondering if there was an agreement when they first put in the sewer, we're gonna put meters on every trailer in order to get a sewer reading. Who's providing these meters?
Yeah,
I didn't know if that's,
I,
What happened was...
could you, please?
Why don't we get him a
could you get
chair?
Mike and introduce yourself,
Why don't
please.
you, can you bring
I'll
it
grab
up?
the chair.
You can just pull a chair up, we got mics.
I'm Jim Carnavelli, by the way. My wife and I bought the park probably around 1986. And we recently sold the park to Michael, I think about 2 years ago,
2015.
2015. Okay, on the sewer, it used to be all septic, okay? And then, when the sewer came in, what we did was what the park did, so we can understand who we is. What the park did was put in meters to measure the amount of water that's going into the unit. And on the theory, should we say, if it went into the unit, the only way basically it's coming out of the unit is through the sewer. And this is the reason we install these meters. And then the idea was that the folks living in the home, they would pay the sewer fee where the park covered the fresh water fee coming in. In other words, we dealt with Leominster, and these folks were paying the fee to Lunenburg for the sewerage. I guess that's a way to put it.
Okay.
So those meters were, you see, and one last thing to understand is the park was always responsible for the water until it comes out of the ground. Once it comes out of the ground and connects to the meter, then the people are responsible because they have to keep that insulated and heated in the wintertime. And should that fail or whatever, they are responsible for the repair. The other advantage that gave the park is we had the ability to monitor if we had any leaks in our main line. And if we didn't, where the leak was occurring. Because you probably know as well as I that a lot of leaks, you don't know it. You don't know it's leaking because it could be very small, and it amounts over time, and people are saying, oh, what's going on? And we can determine that by the meter. Okay? So that's basically how the meters got installed, et cetera, et cetera. And Barbara's been a great assistance to us because, we could see from the bills.
Who had the leak?
Being awesome, boom, So you either did something or you have a leak, one or the other. So that's how the meters got in. That's the whole purpose behind them, and they weren't just chintzy meters. The way I remember it, it cost us, I'd say, well over $350 for the meter and the installation of the meter and the insulation of the meter.
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
about right from what we've been looking at.
Yeah. So, anyways,
Well,
that's how they ended up there.
So I really appreciate that, because that's been a gap, and I hate gaps of, how did they get there? Who bought them, and why was that done? So it's very helpful. And it sounds like there's there's good benefits to having them there, from what you say, in terms of being able to monitor and find issues and where the issue is and who's doing what. And so they're all good reasons to have it. The only problem is that the sewer users have been paying the price for giving you that data. And it doesn't
Yeah,
really
they're
benefit,
paying for the
and it doesn't
sewer,
really
that's
benefit
right.
the sewer users.
Am I correct that this is the only situation of this type in the sewer district? That we don't have any other manual readers, Barbara? that-
Correct. They
This
are
is
the only.
so you are the only place in
Amen.
our entire sewer district.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You're very
Where
special.
we have to send someone out to read the meters. Otherwise, what we do to get the standard usage is we simply get the data from the water department. They send us electronic numbers. Now, we do have some people in the sewer district who elect to put in something called an irrigation meter if they have a watering system in their lawn, and that's a different thing. But for everyone else's usage in the entire sewer district, we get the numbers electronically from Leominster at no administrative or manual reading cost to us.
Correct, and I spoke with Leominster about this as far as the cost involved in switching those meters over to something they can read. See, the big issue that we're worried about is everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, most of the people in that park are on fixed income, right? They're elderly. So we're trying to do whatever we can to always keep the costs down for them. So what we're worried about is if we go to a one water meter reading one sewer bill, I will then have to take that sewer bill and just divide it between everyone, and then everyone pays on average. Well, there's some people in there that use a lot of water, and there's some people that use very little water. So what we're concerned about is, why should one person, their bill go up because now it's being averaged out to everyone.
But you have complete control over that, because you can still read the meters.
Right.
And bill them based on the meter reading.
So I've talked to Leominster.
So that's up to you, whether you
Right.
have an average or you actually use those meters for what you're using it for now. We don't need to read them for you, though, is the whole difference. And the other thing is, and I appreciate very much that you're trying to keep the cost down for your residents, just as we're trying to keep the cost down for your residents as users, because the fee in the end that gets paid is based upon our costs. So we're trying to reduce the costs, which is why we're pushing back on this. But from that point of view also, if for some reason, if this regulation goes through, there still could be waivers. The commission still has some ability, at least the way it's worded today, that you could stay the way you are. But that's going to end up costing you quite a bit of money, your users, because to begin with, they're going to have these $50 fees every year because they have a manual meter. They don't have today. They're going to have to, at some point, and we have to finalize this, but right now we're thinking within 2019, within a year, they would all have to upgrade their meters so that they can be electronically read instead of the way they are now. And that could be another $300 for each person. Whereas if the whole park does it, it's $300 for 2 meters, not $300 for 20-something meters. So staying the way it is now is going to have the biggest impact to your users, to your residents' cost of the two options of read 2 meters or we read all the meters. So I think we have a common goal is to keep their costs down.
When I said $300, a little over 300, that's not for the whole park. That's for each meter.
I understand. That's what I'm saying. It's 300 for each. I'm talking $50
Now,
for each person.
What's in there now?
Yeah, right. And to
That's what
upgrade,
it cost us.
those could well cost another 300 each.
Yeah, okay, I understand that.
Or if they're the correct meter, we may just have to put something on them.
Yeah, and that's,
Maybe
Lemonster
maybe-
mentioned that to me, that.
Depends
that
on what kind of meters. Yeah.
some
I
of the
said it
meters
could
that-
cost the 300.
Since he's put in the meters, some of the meters that have broke since, we've replaced them with Neptune meters. According to Lemonster, Neptune meters are the meters you want, but you'll still have to pay for the, instead of the analog reading, it's a radio frequency reader, so we'd have to pay to upgrade that still.
Yes. Yeah.
The issue with that Lemonster pointed out to me is, there's no longer a number on there, so if you need, now I need the receiving equipment to know what that meter reading is. So if I'm looking for a leak, the way I do it now is, I believe it's unit whatever, unit number 10A, it doesn't, you know, and I read the meter, I have them shut the water off, not use it for 2 hours, come back and see if the meter moved, and then you know if they have a leak or not. If we upgrade to these meters, where there's no longer an ability for me to read, I won't be able to tell if someone has a leak or not, so,
Well, I did a little research on the
Okay.
two different types of meters that we're thinking of using, and both of them would supply Barb electronically with that data. So you could just call Barb, and she would tell you.
she can get that reading without having to go to the park or
Yes,
go near the
because
park?
once they take the reading or it's electronically sent,
No, well,
yeah, they both can
if they're,
supply.
Like I could
if
call
their
up, I can call up on a
radio-
Tuesday afternoon and
No,
get the
'cause they're-
meter.
No,
they're only going to be read, they're only, if,
only quarterly,
they're only going to be read quarterly.
Right.
So only once a quarter will there be a reading, with one of the two approaches.
with one of
If
the,
it's
the other
cellular,
approach
if
would
it's
give,
cellular, you have
you
it
have-
almost real time.
Yep.
But if it's not cellular, if it's, I think the Neptune approach, then
and then we would
then
only
it's only
get- you're
quarterly.
right, we'd only
But
get
you
it
still would
quarterly.
have even if it went all that way and all these other costs made sense to you. And again, you only have to upgrade if you somehow manage to maintain, we read the meters. If we don't read the meters, your meters, you do what you want. You leave them alone, you go read them all you want. The worst case, if we go to the quarterly reading, you could still, theoretically, request a special reading, for some fee, and they could go back out and they could take readings. Our goal is to not go down that path at all, to go to the 2 meters, use those as the official meters. You can upgrade your meters, you can do whatever you like with your meters, read them as often as you want, use them for whatever tools you want. Spare the residents the cost of upgrading meters, of the annual fees, and that's the direction we're going in, so.
I think the current concern Michael has is, and this is the God's honest truth, when the sewer first went in there, you didn't have a fixed minimum. It was just what you used. You did that for a while before you said, okay, there's going to be a fixed minimum of $30, $40. Now I think it's 97, Mike?
97.20.
97.20, okay? So when it was just water used, you'd be surprised, the majority of those people down there, they used around $22 and a quarter, okay? You're talking, older people,
Right.
that type of a thing, so.
So
I'm glad you bring up that point, though.
Again, though, if you, as far as incurring costs, well, if we're gonna go with the 2 meter readings so that, from Lemonster, and then you send a sewer bill out, one big sewer bill, and it's up to me to divide it up, I can either average it out between everyone, some people are gonna be paying more than they were before, or you're saying I can go and read the meters that are on well, that's a cost, right? I have to hire someone to go read those. I mean,
I thought you could read them.
okay, what's my time worth?
Well, but.
I mean, right, so my time's worth something, so in either case, there's a cost, and that cost is gonna be put on the residents. There's a cost to doing business, right? I mean, I'm not here for free. So, I understand what I understand the issue. I mean, Barb and I have dealt with it. It is, in fact, we got one now. It's a brand-new meter, and for some reason, it already broke, right? So we're dealing with that. And the concern, though, not the concern, but the question I have is, again, there's been a lot of connection fees, that this park has paid to the sewer commission. What,
It's really unrelated to the subject at
Well-
hand here. What, I mean, if we want to talk about connection fees and.
well, I
other
got a question.
issues,
The
you can make an appointment.
new apartment building, Barb might know, I'm not quite sure. The new apartment buildings that were put up on Whalum Road, what do they pay to connect to the sewer? Any idea?
I think it's, well, it's like $24,000.
24,000? So that entire
No,
No.
each building.
Each unit.
each building, how many buildings are in there? 3, 4?
How many what?
Buildings are in there? 5 buildings. Okay.
It's the same regulation that you follow, the same regulation that control the connection fees.
We don't
But-
have
But connection
different
fees are a different subject, and if you,
Well, I'm just
I'd be
trying
happy
to-
to, I'd be happy to
Yeah, I'm
have you
just trying
come
to
back
figure out-
with a different subject.
And I'm not trying to get away with anything. What I'm trying to do here is make it easier for you and make it easier for me, and there's no extra cost passed on to the residents. So
Then-
how-
then
how do
you
we
should
do
go-
that?
If I may for a second, the question we struggle with, and I do hear you, but the question we struggle with is a slightly similar question, but a different group base. What costs are we passing on to our users?
And I
And so
completely
we
understand.
have to be fair, and we have to say that all of the users have to have the same treatment. We can't take money from this group of users and use it to read special meters at this place only. So that's what we struggle with, and I understand the situation. I truly do. Everything you've said I goes to my heart, but we also have to
And I
ethically
understand that. Totally.
deal with that. So we have to have all of our users charged the same way,
What are the new
without
meters? I'm sorry.
other meters. Yeah.
What are the new meters you're putting on? You said.
They're Neptunes now, but the reader itself is just a digital readout. You press the button and gives you
Visual.
the reading number. It's not an actual
Those will still
RF.
have to be upgraded?
Oh, yes. But we can use, if it's the brass base, we can use the brass base, but then we have to put an additional,
head, yeah.
either a radio meter or a Wi-Fi meter on the top. We can use the same base for both.
So this, ma'am, please.
I'm Karen Carnavelli, I'm Michael's mom. I have a question. The other parks in town, how does it work with them? Are you charging them these new fees also?
They never had the meters that you
They
have.
they don't have,
We don't
they're all
read
metered
meters.
by the town, by the people who supply the water. So we get the readings from the people
Water
who supply,
department.
the water department, and
Lunenburg
wherever,
Water Department.
whoever access.
We have,
Okay,
we
so they
incur
have,
no cost.
they have digital meters at the...
Separate, they have separate meters and they have separate water billing.
What they have is each individual unit has its own water meter from the water department.
Okay,
Whereas you have one meter from the water department. So with them, we incur no cost on reading those meters because each unit has its own water meter and the water department sends us that information.
so if we work something out with Leominster,
Not Leominster. the
no,
Luna-
no,
yeah.
what I'm saying is if we, and I'm not sure we can do this, but if we work something out with Leominster, if they're going to read those meters anyway, and if they gave you the information, like Lunenburg gives you that information, then can't we work it out that way?
Well, if you did that, then the regulation we're going to implement wouldn't apply.
Wouldn't
Because you
affect
would,
you, yes.
because you would have a water meter that's supplied by a water district or department that gives us the reading. So you would be just like every other user in town.
Right. If the water department were to give you individual water usage meters for incoming
So
water.
if we can get Leominster to change out those, well,
Well, it's not just Leominster, it's the water district.
No,
I'm
Well, it's
not sure.
Leominster. They're all
Yeah,
Leominster.
Is it just
Yeah,
Leominster?
yeah.
Okay.
if we can get Leominster to go in and read all 24 different units, and so now they have 24 individual
Meters.
and meter readings, it'll say the same way, where there'll be 20, everyone gets their own individual
Yes.
sewer bill.
Exactly.
No,
We
it's
don't
no
know if we-
annual fee.
We don't know if Leominster will do this. I mean, this is something I gotta talk to a gentleman over there.
No, but you're right. You would just look like every other resident in Lunenburg. Or each trailer owner would have, or tenant would look like every other unit. The Leominster would read your meter, They would put it in the file, and they would send it to us, and we'd bill them.
And who's reading the meter now for Lunenburg Water Department?
It depends on who supplies the water. Lunenburg Water District,
Okay.
for most of them. Leominster has some users, and Fitchburg has some users.
Would Lunenburg Water District consider metering each unit?
If we change those meters, would they go in there, would Lunenburg Water go in just to get you a meter reading?
You'd have to ask Lunenburg Water
You'd
District.
have to ask the water
Is
department.
that who you're paying, that's who you're paying now to go?
No,
We don't pay, we get it for
We
free.
pay a subcontractor. Small Water goes around and reads our meters. Is
Yeah.
that what you're
Small
asking?
water, that's.
Who would we talk to at Lunenburg Water District to find out about what they use for water meters? I mean, I don't know about Lunenburg. Fitchburg, if you want a water meter, you have to go to the city of Fitchburg, and they will supply a water meter.
Right.
You have to pay for it, but they supply it. So do you know if Lunenburg is the same thing?
I believe
You're not
they
on
are.
Lunenburg Water, though. You're on Leominster Water, so you have to go to Leominster.
No, but I mean,
Want to reroute your,
yeah, I'm just saying, if we wanted to go to Lunenburg and ask them, do you know if Lunenburg does supply, Lunenburg
Yes.
Water District does supply their own meters?
Yes.
You pay for it?
right, but you'd
Okay.
also have to
Yeah.
route their water to your.
You have to
Okay.
be
Yeah,
using their
and
water.
and I think there's a pretty hefty connection charge.
Yeah.
Very serious connection charge. So, but Leominster is who supplies your water. That would be the cleanest, from your point of view, if you want to kind of stay the way you are today. And then,
See, the
The
only reason I
regulation doesn't
mention
apply.
that is because, again, like I said previously, when the water goes in the home, as far as we're concerned, it's basically coming out through the sewer,
but
which
So how-
you fellas, you folks, have to be concerned about,
Right.
because that's where your bills are.
I guess I'm confused, because you already somehow manage the water bill.
Yes.
So why can't you do the same with the sewer bill?
Because the water bill is paid for by the park. It turns, and this is something that has been going on since they bought the park back in 85, 86. And it's just coming to light now that other parks, people pay their own water and their own sewer.
They've changed that, yeah.
We've always paid their water and they pay for their sewer. So being on a 1 meter to us for water coming in was never a big deal because we were gonna pay it. We're trying to keep the sewer bill divided because certain people use more, certain people don't. And we don't want to impose costs on someone who barely uses any water because the guy next door is,
But aren't you doing that with the water now?
Yeah.
the water now is paid by us.
Yeah, but so you're putting that in everyone's,
No, we pay it.
We pay it.
well.
Yeah, but it's part of your cost of doing business.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, it's part of the cost, yeah, but
Yeah.
again, let me tell you, you develop a leak, and Leominster was always very good that way, because Leominster would notify us that you're using excessive amount of water, and in fact, help us to try to find the leak, because, it depends what area of the park you're in, And, but we never pass that on to the tenants. That's, it's one of those costs you have to absorb
But
yourself.
because the tenant's sewer bill cost was going up, if there's a leak in their unit, they have motivation to fix it right away.
Exactly.
Speaking with other parks in Leominster where they do a 1 water bill, 1 sewer bill, there's no motivation to get a leak fixed. In fact, people washing cars at left and right,
Okay.
What do they
Well,
care?
We don't want to get into how to run your business. We really don't.
And I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way.
But I appreciate, all I can say, and we'll have to bring it to a close unless you have other specific questions on the regulation, that it's pretty clear, at least to me, that the lowest cost option to your tenants is to go back and get the sewer bill by the incoming water. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of other costs that are going to be borne by your residents
Yeah.
that wouldn't be otherwise. So
So,
I
just to be
think
clear,
about that.
we are going to institute an annual 50, I think it's 50 at this point, but it's not written in stone yet, an annual fee for any meter we have to read by hand.
Okay.
Okay, that's coming. So if you keep these meters, your residents may have to upgrade them if they're not satisfactory meters, and they may have to pay an annual fee to have
This
them
fee
metered.
is only if you guys don't go to the one water bill, one sewer bill. You're saying if you move over to one water bill, one sewer bill, I don't have to pay that $50.
That is correct.
Those meters are there for me.
That's absolutely
All right.
correct.
The way
That's
you were-
absolutely
I was
correct.
kinda-
Now, when you
Radio
mean
control?
upgrade the meters, what do you mean by upgrade?
I don't know what all, we had a discussion about some of the meters under the trailers might not be able to be.
What do we have to do to upgrade them? What,
Not knowing exactly what each meter is or which supplier we're going to go with and define, it's impossible to tell you
Right.
specifically. But there will be a requirement on what the meter needs to be and how it needs to be read. And in some cases, they may have to replace the meter, the whole meter. In some cases,
Just
as
put a
as
piece
Joan
on
said,
top.
it may just be the
so
electronics.
it's $50 per mobile per year.
Per year.
And then if you have to go back and reread it, it's another $50? Is that
Did we define that yet, Barb?
25.
Yeah.
25.
Right now, the proposal is
25 if you
25.
have to go back?
Right.
And this
And
is
the
a-
What do
bigger
we
net-
pay taxes for in Lunenburg? It just, you know,
Unfortunately, we don't get tax
Not
money
sewer.
to run the sewers. The sewers are part of an enterprise fund. We get
tax.
zero tax money to run the sewers.
Right.
So we have to struggle with
What's your-
making ourselves self-sufficient.
Well, like you, we have to run a business, and our customers are our users. So again, we have to move on. We have other business. If there's
All
no,
right. The last thing I wanted to say is, the other thing that was absorbed by the folks in the park were betterment fees. I find it interesting where, and again, fine by me, you know, each building down there on Whalen Road, $4,500 or what have you. Because we had a situation where I thought I was going to have a certain fee, but that was all done verbally. I was approached. Instead, we got hit for every lot, okay? And
So even though there's only one sewer connection off the street, we paid a lot per lot.
a lot, well over $100,000. Okay?
And we had to install.
Everyone does.
Right, and we had to pay the
Everyone
sewer.
does.
We installed the whole sewer.
Correct, right? One house, one betterment fee. Well, you hooked up to the park, and even though it's one big, I can't take all those mobiles out and start building stick-built units in there, right? It's what I have is what I have, that's it. But yet, why is the betterment fee per unit when it's only one sewer connection?
just the same reason it is for an apartment building.
Yeah,
The
exactly,
betterment-
apartment
But the
building.
better.
How many bathrooms are in an apartment building?
And they pay,
They pay
just like,
$25,000 per building,
just like
right?
trailers.
So-
No. They follow the
was-
same.
Unit is, the
per-
connection policy is.
It's
For the
per
dwelling
unit.
unit,
Per
It's
right?
always
dwell-
per
per
unit.
individual
It's always
unit.
per unit. And the betterment is meant to reflect the bettering of the property. And a
Yes.
property with a lot of units is bettered a lot more than a residence with one house.
But see, the property is roughly, it's commercial, it's zone commercial. And it allows two structures. And I was going to pay 2.5 betterment units. Okay? Instead, I ended up paying 25 betterment units.
Yeah.
Okay? And there's no way that you're going to have something in there where you've got 25 units, because the most you can put in there is 2 commercial buildings.
But you
That's
did
the way
find
it
a
was
way.
explained to me.
You did find a way to put 25 units,
They're mobiles,
but they're units.
I
okay?
guess what we're trying to say is if I built an apartment building there,
Mm-hmm.
and that apartment building had 40 units in it, I would get one building,
Mm-hmm.
but it had 40 small apartments in it, I would get a
No,
$25,000
you wouldn't.
hookup fee.
Where does that come from?
Because didn't Barbara just say that the other place on Whalen Road, there's 5 buildings in there, and each one paid $23,000 per building?
Connection.
That was a
Connection.
ZBA, yeah, the connection.
That's connection.
And it was a
Per building.
ZBA
The way-
agreement. for these
the-
Per building, so
that-
what if I,
that-
if I,
But then we
if I
have
take
The
those
luxury
16 units
apartments.
out and put a 16...
Excuse me, the luxury apartments are not a good example because it was a 40B, and all of the fees were negotiated by the zoning board of appeals, not by us.
It's just,
So
my-
if you take, I don't know, Emerald Place maybe, or other apartments, then they go by the regulations, the same regulations, and it's all units. Doesn't matter whether it's a trailer or an apartment. It goes by bedrooms and number of units.
We have the same regulation that applies to everyone the same way.
I guess what we're trying to figure
And
out,
we
we
have-
paid a lot for betterment fees, what are we getting for these fees? Because now
We're able to put 25 units in.
Yeah. And we can't go back and change history at this point. The betterment fee was explained and then it was elected, so
Okay.
that's that. But we have to make sure we treat all our users equally.
Okay.
All right,
Guess that's
Glad you
it.
came in, though, because this is a
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
discussion to the hearing.
Thank you.
Very nice meeting
If we
you.
find out anything from Leominster, who do we contact? Okay.
The contact, Barbara.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in, and for filling in the history.
Barbara, it's great finally meeting you in person.
I know, really.
Always talking to you on the phone.
Okay, is there any public comment from the board?
Thank you, everyone.
There is no public any longer. We said? Okay, speaking of irrigation.
Here we go.
Man, can we move through this one quickly?
Yep.
Is there anything
I
new?
called the water department.
Oh, good.
Remember, I
Thank
was,
you. Yes,
I was
that was
assigned a task, and so I did complete my task recently, yesterday, and I talked to the, what is it, Alice over there?
April.
April. And she told me that they are working fine for them, just what everybody else said, that
And remind me, which meter are they using?
they're using the radio meters.
Neptune.
Neptune? Thank you.
Neptune,
Okay.
yep. And, you know, everyone I have talked to has said their meters work fine,
Okay.
both brands.
Good, okay. So that's,
And they're relatively
All
the
equal.
And
same
I-
price, right?
They're relatively the same price, I think. There's a little difference, but not too much. And she said that they take 2 days every time they go out to read, a day and a half, a little more maybe. They can get information from the readings about leaks and stuff. It's not instantaneous like the Wi-Fi, but they do get that, and she had no complaints. It is interfaced with their billing service, but it is not Munis, it is a different billing service. You know.
okay.
But I haven't found anyone who had any problems, per se, on either meter. What I found mostly is that the people that went to the radio meters were simply upgrading to get more data and to stay technologically current.
The ones that went with the cellular.
Yeah, the ones that went with the cellular.
Right.
Yeah.
And Ryan, just to correct, the Neptune is of greater cost because there's more hardware to it. There's base stations and radios and handheld units, so that kind of thing bumps the price up. The meters themselves in each location are very similar.
And the people who use the radio meter I was grilling them about, what about dead spots?
Cellular.
Cellular.
The other one's
Yeah,
radio.
Thank you.
Drive-by
Cellular.
radio or
The
cellular.
cellular one said that dead spots were not an issue at all. And the people in Shirley actually ran tests in the deadest part of town before they installed them and had zero problem. It's kind of like sending a text message instead of making a phone call.
Yep.
And, you know, I know you don't text, Carl, but if you text, you can text from a dead zone and the person still gets it, whereas a phone call doesn't go through.
Different bandwidth.
Because it's different bandwidth.
Another reason I don't use text.
Yeah, I get you. And actually, I was told by several of the people who use the cellular one that it's even less bandwidth than a text message. It's extremely small bandwidth, and it goes through all the time. And none of them had any problems with that at all.
Good.
So,
Did they make any comment? Because the other thing you'd asked other people about was sort of the support. Did they have any
both said the support was fine.
supports okay?
Both said, and matter of fact, several people who are using the Wi-Fi one, the cellular one, actually interface with Munis. And they said that the company came out, ran a workshop, set up the software, and had wonderful customer support, and running it with Munis was perfect.
Okay. Good.
So,
Good. Okay.
Too bad it's only 15 meters.
So I guess it sounds like, and I appreciate you making all these calls because they're not that easy even just to get through to people. But it sounds like there's sort of an equal playing field. But forget the technology for a minute.
Well, except I have the notes, if you want to see, I can tell you exactly which town. But one town I called, and they said that they used the radio meters that we were thinking of using. And the batteries have a shelf life, and they all needed to be replaced. And when they were going to go and replace those batteries, they decided to stay current with technology instead of buying batteries for something they feel is slowly going to work its way out. And I agree with them. I think that radio meters are slowly going to work their way out. And so they said that they did it to stay current and get more data.
Yeah, okay, but
So
there was no
there was no black hole
no
of
issues.
ickies. No.
Everybody
Yes.
sounded reasonably satisfied
Yes.
with what they
Yes.
had, whatever they had,
Yes.
for whatever reasons they had
Yes.
it.
Yes.
So I'm not hearing, I'm looking for any differentiation between
Technology.
places.
Just staying current with the
of- no,
technology
of
and
the-
more data.
Of the reference checks, not of the
Yes.
technology, because
Yeah, well, that was one of the things the reference checks talked about. They talked about staying current.
But I'm
Yeah.
trying to isolate it to the reference check and not, because the technology discussion is I think is a discussion that goes with
Well,
the cost
one of
discussion
the
and all the
questions
rest of the
that I
parameters.
asked everyone was, why did you select what, I think you were the one who asked me to ask that question, Carl. Why did you select this system? Why did you go with this? And that's when I was told, we went with this so we wouldn't be putting money into a technology that's going to be by the wayside. We want to stay current and make good use of the money that way. And that's what they told me, so.
Okay.
that was it.
You can use it just in your house. Everyone's installing Wi-Fi, using Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
No one's using a later
Yeah,
technology.
so.
Joan, in your conversation with the water department, did they mention that they will be trying to upgrade or go cellular? or
I did
anything?
ask them that, and April said that Fran had no desire to do that at the present. I don't know, what Fran's career plans are or how long he's going to be there, but she said that he was
Okay. I
an
just
old
wondered
school
if you-
type.
If they
Yeah.
had said anything. Okay.
Okay, great. So one of the things in the package was some comments from Gary Williams, plumbing inspector.
Yeah.
And Barb, maybe because that was just, I assume that's something you typed up? It was just,
Yes,
it didn't
was
have any
just
heading on it
quickly-
or anything?
No, it was just me, remember, it was a phone conversation, and it's never in writing with Gary, so I'd quickly written down what he had said. I was tasked from the last meeting to go and ask him what percentage of meters were in
Yes.
each location.
Yes.
And he just said that the vast majority for him, that because he has to go and inspect them, are the Badger meters. And that's, as a plumber himself, that's the one he installs. So that's that.
So, but I don't know what's in, I don't know what the rest of our, do we have records when people apply for irrigation? Do they
No.
tell us what?
We don't have any record of what
Because
is
we now know that the 26 in the trailer park are all Neptune.
Well, he said there were some different ones
Yeah.
too, so I don't know if they're
The more
all.
recent
But
ones.
Said
he
he
said
just
the
more
ones that
recent
they
ones, but they
upgraded,
wouldn't-
yeah, a
yeah.
few that.
Yep.
I have a suggestion, and I don't know if this is the right time, but we're talking about the meters. When we have people submit their meters and their paperwork, maybe we should ask them to submit an electronic photo of their meter with their paperwork that they submit. Because one of the salesmen mentioned that when he was out here giving us a talk on the different meters. If we have an electronic picture takes up no space. Right, Barb, you have? And so we could then
Yeah.
access immediately what kind of meters we have, whether or not they're compatible with our communication device.
Yeah.
Just to,
Good
I know
idea.
it may be down in the policy thing, we should add that to the thing, submit a picture.
Okay, so you're thinking like new applications?
New
as
soon as people come in,
yeah,
or, you
in
know, or with your
Well,
50.
in the application, I mean, we should ask for it in the application.
Yes.
Yes.
But let's put this, we're going to tell them what to use, quite frankly,
Right.
for new ones,
Right.
right? It's the ones that are out there
Right.
that are the
But
gray
they're
area.
$50 a year thing, if they're not upgrading, well, that's true, if we're going to only have one kind, then it won't be necessary.
I was thinking maybe you had a way to get pictures of the current ones.
I know, wouldn't that be nice?
Yes.
So we'd know which
Well-
ones.
You can ask them.
Well-
Ask the.
Oh, wait, no, because
We could ask
When-
people
when-
to submit it.
Yeah,
I'd say how little I
voluntarily.
when they go around and read the meters for us, are they just looking at a readout, or do they see the meter?
That's what we request and require, is that there's an external reader.
Okay.
So they're only seeing,
So the meter's in the
reader.
house, so
Right.
we still don't know. Okay.
Would it be feasible, and I may be not online here with this, it may not be feasible, to ask everyone with an irrigation meter via email to take I mean, nowadays you take a picture with anything and
Oh, yeah.
I
send
don't
it.
have anybody's email though.
Oh, you don't have their emails? Okay.
That's,
Can we tell anything from the meter from the device that they're reading off of? I mean, shouldn't that,
would be a question of
Shouldn't
Gary,
that
I
indicate-
don't know. No, because I think those can be their own product. They don't have to be a Neptune or a Badger.
Right.
They're produced for the meter companies to be an external reader. I can ask Gary, but I don't know if
He
it's.
must know how many
well,
he
I would
sees.
rather ask.
Well, he said
Can you ask
he said
small
that-
water? They may well know. They're out there reading the
He's the
meters.
one-
Maybe half of the meters you can tell from the indicator that it's
I
Neptune or
don't
Badger
know.
or, because I suspect they were a
Logo.
matched pair when they put them
Logo,
in,
yeah,
right?
something.
You can ask small water, if there's any way that they can tell, even if it's not 100%, if it's 50, 80%, that'd be marvelous. Because for our cost analysis, we
That's what
we
I was
really don't need
thinking.
to
That's
understand
what
this.
I was thinking, yeah.
Big difference to people.
That's why I was trying to figure out a way to get a picture.
Yeah.
Barb, when you send out the bills and they have the deduction for the irrigation meter on them, that deduction only goes on the people who have irrigation meters, correct? Could there be a little line on there, please send in a photograph of your irrigation meter to your email? And then
Yeah, why not?
with your address?
Even if only half of them respond,
Then-
yeah.
Because that
Better than
could end
none.
up saving them money in the long run. If we know what they have,
Right.
we might be able to,
And they'll know,
But I'm not going to
what
send
the
out
cost
bills
is.
till November now. Are we?
well, we're not going to be doing anything before November. We're not going to be replacing meters before November, are we?
No, but if we're doing a public hearing on changing policy, then we wouldn't probably, and that was actually a
Well,
question mark to me.
My thought on this is that and it's sort of the way that I structured the draft policy, is we don't have to have the meter defined in the policy.
Right.
We can have a
That's true.
generic policy that says
That's true.
the approved meter, and we have a separate,
Right.
so that would gain us a lot of time. So
Yep.
we shouldn't hold this thing
No.
up for this decision.
No, I agree. I agree completely.
Okay, I'll look at it again. I mean, I sent out my marked up one, thinking that we were going to do, because we'd have to go back and I'd have to look at all my markup, because I did look at your generic one, and it still had areas where I thought we want to have it defined, depending with the new technology and the new
No,
process.
I think it can just say the approved meter, because the two technologies.
Did you look at my markup of the?
Yeah, I did. I looked at all of them.
I'd
There
have
were
to look
several.
look at it again
So
and
let's
just see
look-
what the issues were. But that was my question, was it seemed like if we're going to have a policy about putting in this meter,
But
You
the
know, why wouldn't
policy is
you
not
put in
about
the-
putting in this meter. The policy is an annual fee, and the meter has to be working in good working order. The resident is responsible for maintaining the
right, the
meter.
current policy is that. But we're going to try to require
Well,
everybody
the new
to
one.
install
An
a
approved
Neptune or a
meter.
An
Badge.
approved
An approved
meter.
meter.
You know,
And who knows, tomorrow there may be two approved meters to choose from. I don't
Yeah,
know.
the approved meter is
all right.
more than enough.
Okay.
So are you going to, do we want to ask for pictures?
Wouldn't hurt.
It wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. I like that.
Okay.
And talk to Small Water, too, see if they can do anything. I don't know.
Yep.
Maybe when they're out there reading the meter, they could knock on the door and ask if they could take a picture of the meter. Because it, not only for our cost analysis, but for the user's sake, it would be nice if they could know.
Exactly. I'm going to
I'm
be
gonna
able to
need
use
this
this
level
with
or I'm
just,
not.
right, exactly,
Because it's
exactly.
not insignificant difference. Okay. Cost to users, I know I see you're working on getting information to get down to the cost per user. That's gonna take a lot of work. And that's why I think we need to separate the regulation from the meter, because this is too important to do quickly, and it's not going to be easy. Anything you want to talk about on that, Barb, in terms of, getting to the cost to the user?
No, I did have a conversation, I know we've talked about passing, like, that even the base systems would be somehow not supported, not purchased by the sewer enterprise, but by the users. And Jack's point was similar to, we've got a sewer system. If we buy the base system for the drive-by or the cellular, it's ours and it's in place. And, John, who is currently connected to the meter, would pay his share of having that. But yet, Ryan, when he goes to connect, would not. Similar to how we handle sewer, like the Betterment, we had a reserve for future users. So Jack's point was that the base system is really an enhancement to the sewer enterprise. It's what we have on as an asset, as opposed to passing it on to the current users. You're giving the future users.
Oh, I see, I understand now. It took me a few minutes. Sorry, I wasn't
right,
quick
I
on
was
the
not
uptake.
probably doing
No,
it
no, no.
so well.
So if someone sells their house with an upgraded irrigation meter in it, it's a betterment for the next person as well.
Or somebody connecting, or saying, I want a meter, and then they put it in, and they only have to pay the meter where the prior people have paid for the entire system to go in.
So it's a good thought, and, the Betterment model may be a good model to use. So I think that's worth discussing when we know which one we're going with and what the cost is and how we allocate it. But very much like the Betterment system, and irrigation meters is probably even worse. Most of the cost is going to have to be absorbed by the current users. And maybe you set aside a little bit for future users, but how many future users are going to be for irrigation meters
And the
is
other,
hard to tell.
yeah, exactly. And the other side of that coin is if you have an irrigation meter in your home, it's like having central air or having an updated refrigerator. You get more for your house when you sell it because you have more bells and whistles. And whatever you do to your home on your own improves its value.
Right.
So, they can get their money that way too.
So it's an interesting, we can look at a Betterment model in
Yeah.
terms of how we recover the cost, but the costs, at least I'm concerned, the costs have got to be borne by the people generating the cost. Right? And I don't know how quickly people are adding irrigation meters or not, so I'm not sure what the future of irrigation meters is. But we can
But
look
it
at,
is
we can look at
also-
that analysis.
Yeah, and it is also for our administrative burden. It's partially also helping the sewer department in cost hours and
Well,
labor hours.
it's hopefully eliminating cost that is caused by the irrigation meters,
Right,
right?
one way or the other, but it's an investment to reduce the cost.
Okay. We can have a debate on how to allocate the costs once we know what they are.
Okay, no, I was just throwing it out just as.
Yeah, no, it's good. So it's a
well, I
good thing
was-
to queue up, so we can be
Yep.
thinking about that. Yeah. Okay. Anything else on irrigation meters? So 1 hour on irrigation meters. Okay. Policy changes.
No, sorry, we'll
God,
go back to the
irrigation
generic
policy.
one.
You're talking about the red one, is the red marked up one is the
Yeah.
last one?
Yeah.
This one, yeah. Because
But
there's a
I was
couple.
looking at it with an eye to having new meters in place, so I was trying to only go to public
You were trying to
hearing
tailor
once.
make it for one specific thing.
Right, because we don't want to have multiple public hearings to.
I don't think we
the
need a
same
public hearing to pick the meter. I think we have the policy, and we don't need a public hearing to
Okay.
name the meter. That's up to us to decide.
Right.
So I just think that everywhere in here where you can just say the approved meter,
Okay.
the approved meter. That,
There are other, I should pull it up, because there are other sections of that that I would really like to, right now, there is no plumbing permit. For us to require it is not as making a requirement of another department and another person. And that's why included my checklist in there. That's been the process. And for us to require in the regulations that we get a copy of the permit signed off by plumbing inspector is just more chasing. I have the plumbing inspector come in and sign off on our checklist that it's in. We can at that time require a picture, I assume he has a cell phone, and the type. We can add more to the checklist, but I'd rather not require the plumbing permit because I have yet to ever see a plumbing permit.
So if I understand you correctly, as opposed to a paper copy of a plumbing permit form, you are recommending that you have a checklist that the plumbing inspector comes in and says, for this address, I have connected this device, and I have checked off these things on the list, and here's my signature.
Correct.
I have no problem with that. I mean, it's like having a plumbing permit.
I guess I don't follow that sounds more complicated to me than getting a copy of the plumbing permit. And the fact that you've never gotten a plumbing permit, I think more speaks to the process. If we don't give any credits until we have a plumbing permit, I bet you get the plumbing permit pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there just is a plumbing permit. I think it falls under the building permit where they have different sign-offs.
Yes. So you'd need a copy of the building permit with the
whatever,
plumbing
maybe
section
plumbing,
checked
wrong word,
off.
Yeah.
Usually there's a rough and a finish. and
Yes,
a final.
that's exactly right.
I don't know what that would
Yeah.
fall under.
Barb, were you saying that at the present time, no permit is pulled for the installation of an irrigation meter?
No, for sure there is a permit pulled.
Okay,
Because that's the
then-
only way Gary Williams is involved or advised that,
I don't think it's physical. I don't think it's a physical permit.
that's, I think, the problem.
That's the problem. There's no.
Piece of paper.
There's none of that.
Oh, well, it just occurred to me, isn't life wonderful now that all the permits are online? So you just have to go online and confirm that there is a permit that's been signed off? We're
seen
paying a
any
lot of money
for-
for this system.
I think so. I think. Is it implemented?
I haven't seen any plumbing come around. There might be.
So I think we need to ask a
It's slowly
basic,
getting
we have to have a
implemented.
basic question answered. Is there such, when an irrigation meter is installed, you said, yes, a permit is pulled. What kind of permit is pulled? And is it online?
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause I
And then
think-
we
I think the- I
we
think the
can't go
permit
anywhere until we
system
get
is in
that
place.
answers to those two
So,
questions.
yep.
What kind of permit is pulled and?
Plumbing
is it
permit,
online?
and that's why a plumbing inspector inspects it. So
Well,
plumbing
it might
permit.
not be a plumbing permit. It might be what Ryan said, and I believe it is, because I've done a lot of renovations in my house. It's a building permit
Building
with a
permit.
plumbing section.
Yeah.
I believe that's what it is. I don't think it's a specific plumbing permit.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we're going to check on the online system. I know it's up and running.
You don't have to do it online though, right? Is it still?
They're trying to make it
I don't know.
mandatory.
And the other one in here is the grease trap under policy change. And I looked at that. The two underlined sections, Barbara, are exactly what I recommended, thank you. But did we take out a section about time? Remember there was something about you were going to do it every so much, and we took that.
August 1st, and then you wanted it monthly?
No. There was, with people who were delinquent with the grease trap reporting. Does anybody help me out with this here? Do you remember, Ryan, and it said something about twice a month, Barbara would contact them, and we took that down? Do you recall that, Barbara?
Yes, it's in there, I believe.
Okay, it's in there.
Section 7, violations and penalties.
Okay.
It was just removed. It's
Fabulous. Fabulous, thank you. Because the copy I had doesn't have red on it, so I was.
Okay. Just,
Okay,
it
that's
will read
great,
a fee of
'cause we had
25 per
voted
day of
on that
violation
before.
retroactive to the
That one
start
looks
of the
good to me.
non-compliance until compliance is achieved.
Thank you.
Okay.
Let me go back up just for one thing, and it applies, I believe, to the irrigation policy, the manual meter policy, not the manual irrigation, for sure, is the document you sent out on the irrigation policy, and in the words here, it says approved 710. That was never approved. And
Not, the base document I'm working with is the one that was approved on July 10th.
there was no approval, there was no vote, and it would be inappropriate to have a vote because we can't change the policy without hearings. There was no vote on 710. I went back and looked at the minutes.
Okay.
There were no votes on any policies on 710. And it would have been inappropriate anyway, but,
All right.
so we need to be careful about putting these things on, because now there's documents running around that say that this thing was approved on 710 of 2018.
Maybe we discussed it on 710.
Oh, we definitely discussed, yeah, and we
You should
discussed
just
it.
say
There was-
discussed on-
There was consensus.
Proposed policy discussed on this date.
Yeah, there were, yeah, or just draft, or, you know. The manual meter policy, we discussed that, there was consensus on that, basically the lawyer's language. We need to add that to the hearing, list of hearing items.
Is that one that was sent out in the packet, Barb?
What are we talking about? I'm
The
sorry.
manual meter
Yep, that was
policy.
That was the lawyers.
Oh, yes,
That was
oh,
in
yes, the lawyer's comments, yes,
Right,
yes.
yeah.
Okay, I thought there was an actual policy we had.
Well,
His suggested policy.
Suggested
I got it.
addition to the regulation.
Yes,
And I believe, didn't he suggest where to insert it
I
into?
he did.
I think so,
Yes,
yeah.
he did. He
So
said, put it
there's,
here.
it'll,
Yeah.
the sewer use regs will be affected by that section. That and his waiver will add to the sewer use regs.
Right.
So,
So that was the only comment I would make, that, so, because that's, these hearings are getting pretty, they're going to be pretty intense, because we've got irrigation policy, we've got manual meter policy. The next item on the agenda is the connection charge policy. Again, that was not approved,
well, the commission agreed that it was,
but there was no vote taken. When you say approved,
okay,
that means a vote was taken. If you say it was consensus or agreed or whatever, but
consensus of the,
I'm just saying, we need to be very,
Discussed and,
very careful with
Discussed.
yeah, just
noting things being
discussed.
approved.
This is the one you're speaking of right now, Carl, right? This one? Connection?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if that approval, I don't know, and I didn't check if the grease trap regulation that we just discussed was actually approved. It should not have been, but
We discussed it and we voted to recommend those changes.
there you go. There you
There
go.
we go. That's it.
That's
We
good
did
language.
vote
I like
to
that.
recommend those
Yeah,
changes.
yes. Good.
I remember that,
Good.
yeah.
So the next thing on the agenda regarding policy changes and hearings and everything else was this thing that I don't know where it came from, the waiver clause.
I don't know where it came from either.
that
Oh,
was,
you know, I thought it was my memory.
that was the, I think that came about in the discussion on Whalum Kitchen. And that was a discussion with council, that there was nowhere in our regs, especially in the grease trap regs, where it said, whatever we've said here, if a situation comes up, it is the discretion of the sewer commission in the best interest of the town or the system. So that was Adam's input to kind of cover the commission when the regulations are not really clear, that the commission has
When the
discretion.
the regulations are clear, when the situation does not clearly fit the regulations.
Exactly.
Because that could happen. Sometimes you get strange
He
situations.
just said it's odd that a sewer use regulation did not have that kind of umbrella clause.
Yeah.
and
That was the
wanted it.
Whalum Kitchen transfer.
It was, I think, that where, like Joan said, it didn't quite catch what was.
Sometimes situations don't fit
Okay.
cookie cutter into a
I think
regulation.
that was an accountability issue. Because
So that was just
Mm-hmm.
Adam thinking that it should be somewhere part of the regulations, that the sewer commission has the
Well,
discretion.
I don't think the Whalum Kitchen needs to be discussed here, and I don't
No.
think we need to
No.
have a regulation based on that situation, because that situation had its own particular set of circumstances. But I do think that it is a good idea to have
because we don't know what's going to come up in the future. We don't know what might come before us. Special circumstances unforeseen, that you can make a decision based on the data.
Okay. So that, I guess it's a proposal. I'd like to just, well, we will discuss this more. We'll have hearings on it if the commission decides to move forward with it. I would like to discuss, I'd like to have it on the next agenda when hopefully Joe and John are here to discuss that, because I have some serious concerns about it. To me, that kind of a blanket statement, you might as well not have regulations, because there's nothing controlling a future commission from saying, well, see, that privilege fee is too much money for you. We'll give you a waiver, right? And
Well, this isn't for privilege fees. This is
it's for anything. This is
it's
a
for
blanket on
anything.
anything in the regulation, the whole regulation. That any commission could.
Hardship.
So what good is the regulation if at any moment you can have a commission that has a sufficient vote, maybe on a poorly attended night, and just waive any regulation because they think it's in the best interest of the town? We could debate best interest of the town forever, right? So I have some serious concerns about such a
Okay.
blanket. And in fact, the better direction is the direction I think that we have. And even in the regulations that we're putting in, that each regulation addresses how it can be modified or wavered. So you can, as you're saying, you can,
For
in this area that's
situations-
kind of fuzzy and,
Right.
there's a lot of unique circumstances, you can put a mechanism for a
That's
waiver.
what I'm advocating for.
Things that are firm, like a, connection fee,
Yeah,
you shouldn't be able to
No.
waive a connection fee at a whim.
no.
So those are my concerns. So we can move on and put that on a future agenda, and if the commission decides to go to the hearing with it, then we discuss it in the hearings. Okay, special town meeting, November 13th. Barb, when is the warrant closed? Do you know?
Due on October 9th, same
October
date
9th.
as our next meeting. So that's why I had sent everybody just today, unfortunately, I do have a handout, but it's just the
Yeah, it's
generic
just-
initial, almost, not placeholder, but it holds our place on the warrant. Karen just recently closed out FY18, so I'm going to work with her to reconcile, get the exact numbers, but it was just to be able to give to Heather our
We don't have any.
So it's really just the word,
it's
so
our
it's the wording.
Stabilization funds that we didn't do as a part of our budget because.
Yeah, we can't get it
we
without a
were
warrant town
advised,
meeting.
About not doing it at that time. So we were going to save stabilization transfers to the fall meeting after the final fiscal year has closed. So we do have just those two, reserve capacity and the sewer bank I&I. Everybody get a copy of that?
We did, I just can't find it now, but it's just,
It's very
we
generic.
just fill in the numbers, right?
Right.
It's just,
Excuse me.
so we probably should take a vote tonight
Right.
to submit those warrants with the correct numbers to be added prior to the warrant closing on October 9th.
So moved.
Second. Yep.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Evaluation of past inflow and infiltration.
That was on there, I did send the links out, just as an
Yep,
update.
good, that was great.
Finish my thought. I did send out the information, the links have been created on the Google Drive. I have not heard back directly from anyone, I didn't know if you had, Carl.
I have not, as I promised I would notify you if I had any contact, but I have not. And it's been how long since the
It's the 17th,
17th?
and so I didn't know if they were talking to
And
anybody else, so.
And they were invited to the,
Yes, I mentioned in the email that we were hoping they could come forward on the meeting on the 9th.
9th of October, right?
okay, so maybe just a little tweak to
Yeah.
remind them.
Yeah, definitely.
But,
I just wanted to make sure you hadn't.
Yep, no, I have not, so.
Okay.
But always good to ask, because I
Yep.
might have skipped.
And then also, you had asked for the run times for the pump stations to be on the Google Drive also. I talked with Jack, I talked with Small Water. They're gonna check and see what it would entail and see if you wanted 3 years back, and he needs to go and make sure that that's available and see what it would take. So I'm waiting on them. But, yeah, Jack's thought was that we had said we would make available to the engineers anything that was currently available. And so we don't have those run times. We'll get them if that is something that they require.
Yeah, and as I said, I think the run times are probably a long lead item if we want a summary, as Joan had suggested, because somebody's going to have to do some work, I'm sure, which is why I want to request them right away. I don't think they're needed, quite frankly, until we issue a contract. Because,
Exactly.
But it may well, if we ask for it now, we may still be waiting for it when we issue a contract, so, because I think it's going to take a little time to pull together. I hope, I mean, they should have the information, though. It's one thing that it might be a good test. I mean, they need to be retaining the data for a reasonable amount of time, and it's more than 3 years. But it's not going to be easy, because I mean, just looking at some of them, somebody's got to do a quality check on the data, if they just pull it together, because the meters change every now and then. Okay. Anything else on that subject? No, good. Maintenance plan.
I don't have anything. It was just whether anything had been done or any ideas on what to be done.
I'd like to think this is fairly simple, that we could just generate an RFQ for a maintenance plan for our system. And I don't think it needs a lot more words than that, because I don't know what a maintenance plan is completely, but the people we ask sure should.
Are you thinking of asking Small Water?
I think we should ask as many people as we, Small Water would be good. They certainly have good information. I would suggest we ask, Wright Pierce, Weston Sampson, perhaps the 3 people we're talking to. So, the more the merrier.
Yep.
And the one place that I had contacted about this that only does
maintenance.
well, not only
Remember,
does, but does
yeah.
maintenance plans. So, Small Water, Wright Pierce,
Weston
Sampson, the 3 guys we're talking to, and the other one. I mean,
Yep.
7 people. Hopefully, somebody there
Okay.
will respond. So, and I think it's no more words than that. Just
quotes.
please provide a
Quotes,
quote on the
yeah.
maintenance
Do we
plan
need a vote?
for the Lunenburg system. I think the other nice thing, thanks to Barb's effort, is they kind of need some of the data we've already put online, so we can give them access to that, because they need to know how big the system is,
Right.
how many pump stations, how many miles of pipe,
How old,
how many
yeah.
manholes, so all that stuff is also there, so I think we can use that same link.
Yep.
So Barb, could you just draft that 2-sentence RFQ and
And Carl
Sent to those
went,
people?
I think there were 7 that
I
you
think there were
named.
7.
Small Water,
Yeah,
Ray Pierce,
yeah.
Weston Sampson, Woodward and
Yes,
Kern.
Kern.
I don't have it in front.
Teak and Bond,
Teak and Bond and
Stantec.
Stantec.
Stantec,
last
and one more,
Suez or something.
the one you contact, so there are
Suez?
7.
Thank you.
So there are 7.
Yep. And you can just
Send it
reference them
out?
to that same link.
Okay.
Good. Done. FY19 legal fees.
Just a recap that you met with Heather. I did send out her email where she recapped, but I just want to make sure that was all in agreement.
It's generally correct. It's not, and maybe it's the subtlety. Her email makes it sound like we agreed that we would use this year's sewer commission actual usage to determine next year's budget. That's not incorrect, but it wasn't the key element. The key element that Joe and I brought home was we need to have a fixed rate. So what I intended to say, and I clearly didn't say clearly, but my intention was that we would take the actuals that the town, it's simple. We take one calendar year's worth, and maybe through December, maybe the calendar year of 18, and we would take the total billable hours for the town, ours, towns, everybody's, and from that, we would determine a rate, and that we would propose to use that rate for our budgeting purposes for next year. How we estimate the hours is up to us. We can do that based on our actual or whatever we decide. But as a means to determine the rate that we would
But
pay
that's not
for.
what this email says.
No, and that's what I'm saying. The email, and not all of what I just said was said in the meeting, but what that email says that isn't correct is that we would review the sewer commission history and base our budget on that. We also need the rate that we're going to use.
So you're saying there's a I didn't go to the meeting, so I wasn't
No.
there. So all I have is the paperwork that I've seen from there. So you're saying that this summary by the town manager is inaccurate?
Is a little misleading because what
We want a rate.
saying to me is, we're going to look at what we spent
Yeah.
and we're going to budget based on the history of what we spent.
So there was a miscommunication between the people at the meeting then? Somebody doesn't understand something somehow, because that's not what this says.
Right, exactly. That's why I bring it up.
So what are you proposing? I understand
I
your-
propose we,
Joe and her were supposed to talk, or email. That was discussed.
there was supposed to be follow-up discussions.
Right.
Jamie Toll had basically left it that Barb and Heather would work out the approach for next year. And I think that's good and fine.
So then Barb needs to...
So we need to, though, let our wishes be known to Barb. So we need to, and we could have that discussion right now, and that's my proposal, is that we take the prior calendar year, we take the calendar year, 18, we determine the average rate based on all of the hours, so the average rate for the fixed flat fee, and we use that rate in our budgeting calculation. So we take that rate, we decide, based on history, pretty much like Heather says, okay, we've, had 160 billable hours last year. You think we're going to more or less what's going on? Next year we'll have 200. But to get to a dollar value, we need to use a rate, and that we would use that rate. And that's if we agree with that proposal, that's the discussion that Barb and Heather would have to have.
So, something that hits me when you say that, if we use less legal time than we budgeted for, then we would not pay the extra money,
No, we
correct?
just pay by the hour.
But I'm just trying to get a flow here of this. So we would save money in that category that year.
Right.
So if we use more than the budgeted time, then we have to pay more.
Right.
So we'd be paying more than the budgeted amount.
Yeah, we should pay for the amount of time we use.
Okay.
The only fuzzy thing, because of the flat rate issue with the town, is what is the rate that we should pay? What is the fair rate we should pay? I'm saying the fair rate should be calculated on what was the actual rate over the last 12 months.
And did you discuss that with the selectmen and Heather?
No, we didn't go to that level of detail. That's what we need to do, and then Barb can close the loop.
Yeah, but the selectmen, that was the chance where the selectmen may not agree with that.
That's what I'm
The
saying.
selectmen, but what the chairman of the selectmen said was that you and Heather would have the discussion and that you could resolve it. how it was going to be done in the future. And they're right. They don't get into what rate's going to be used or how it's
Okay.
going to be calculated. They get into, are you going to use our council or somebody else's? Right?
Yeah, but they get into this one, so.
But
I see another joint meeting. I don't see it.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I have a feeling that if that's a difference to what was stated, so I have a feeling.
I'd like to believe
They'll
that
still-
if it's a reasonable proposal, which I think it is, to use that average rate, that you and Heather can work it out. If Heather will not accept what we think's the reasonable proposal, then yes, we will be back to the selectmen.
Okay.
Okay. Billing outsourcing. Any quotes yet?
Nope, I just finally got through with NDS Northern Data to get Munis the file layout.
Oh,
So
okay.
there were 3 questions, that was the last of them.
Oh, good.
So Munis has hopefully what they need. And
Good.
we'll hopefully get an answer. I'm not gonna worry about the next thing.
Okay. Good decision. It's noted, though.
Okay,
And it's a good one
yeah,
for the future.
right. So the next would be minutes.
Minutes. Okay.
We have both 9/11 and 9/18. They were both sent to you. Unfortunately, I didn't remember and put the 9/18 on there. So we can look at them and talk about them, just can't vote on them, is what I think, right?
Well, I would be abstaining anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, so we don't have a vote.
can't.
So you
We
don't have to vote, Because I didn't attend that meeting.
Okay,
I was in New York.
Okay. So we'll
Okay.
do that next
but
time.
9/11.
But I
we
can vote on 9/11.
Oh, you can.
I certainly can.
Was 9/11?
That was our last meeting.
Okay, hang on a second.
I have no problem with them the way they're written. I think they're great. Thank you, Jane.
I like them.
Me too.
Man, not a good scanner. I thought it was a comment, I know Joe, regarding his meeting with Jack, that he had, there's a comment in here somewhere
About what,
about
Carl?
Jack, under the DPW system update, I believe.
Well,
is
he
what-
split his update between 2 sections of
Oh,
the
maybe
minutes
that's the
because he
problem.
forgot to mention the second section about the schools, so it's down on the
Oh.
bottom. If you look, it says, Joe said Jack will go the next time the trap is pumped with a level. Carl wanted the word confirm changed to believe. Do
Oh, yeah.
you remember that? So that part of the DPW
Oh.
report came in later.
I found it. Thank you, I
Okay.
thought
It
it
was
was 2
split
sections.
between 2 sections.
Okay. The one that I'd like to get a little clarification on is up in the first section, under the DPW system report, and it's a little more than halfway down. It starts with, Joe suggested that since Jack is very busy, the commission may have to look at expanding the scope of work with small water when planning for the budget. I'm pretty sure that was Jack's comment.
No, it was,
I believe he stated it in terms of that Jack suggested that he doesn't have enough time, so we may,
So you're saying Joe said, Jack said?
yeah.
Joe stated that,
Yeah.
I don't know, because we weren't at the meeting with Joe and
I
Jack,
can say
so
what Joe-
I'm
no,
uncomfortable.
I'm saying what Joe said, that doesn't, at the meeting. All we're trying to do is capture what was said at the meeting.
I know, but I don't remember if he said I don't know if Jack said, I'm really busy, and then Joe said, well, we may have to do this, or Jack said we may have to do
I'm
this.
very certain and would not vote to approve these without checking, but I'm pretty sure he said that Jack brought that up, because I said that's great that Jack brought that up, because that's been a concern.
Then why don't we wait till Joe's here?
Yeah, and maybe Jane can just check what was actually said, that's all. And get that accurate, because I'm sure this wasn't Joe's suggestion to outsource some of Jack's job. Okay.
It doesn't change anything, but,
No, but
yeah, I got you.
it's just how it was, what was presented. Okay. Upcoming meeting schedule.
Yeah, just to confirm that that is what we are.
And we have specific things, like we have something for the 9th of October planned, and we were going to put the other agenda items off until the 30th, because we were going to have the 3 companies come in and present.
Right.
And then we were going to do something on the 11th, could dig my notes out,
Budget.
budget, that's right.
Right.
So we were kind of like pigeonholing tasks for the different meetings.
So one big swinger is the engineering firms able to come in or not that quickly. So if they can't come in, then that night is really freed up, and the agenda can be whatever it needs to be.
Right. And then
I do think we should try to target the end of October for the first hearing.
yes, yeah, that was my,
The
I wanted
30th.
to confirm that
Yeah,
that's
what
what
is
we
the-
wanted to do.
What's the notification requirement? Can we meet?
We'll do like 10 days. We can talk about it on the 9th still.
We can talk about it on the
Right.
9th,
It-
and based on what
I
happens on the
mean-
9th, we can confirm it and still have time to post it. So let's stick with that tentative plan of October and November.
So the 30th will be public hearing, and then anything we had put off from the night, Joan. Okay.
Yeah.
And the 11th is budget, the 29th is the second public hearing. And then the first meeting of December is all other business. And then usually, the second meeting of December is on Christmas Day,
I'll be
to be
here.
determined.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm going to be
No,
around this
you.
year. I'm going to be around this year. Last year I was away, so
Oh.
I missed a bunch of meetings over that.
Oh, good. I'm going to take your place then, because I'm going to be away on the 12th, or the 11th, whatever the December 11th.
12/11.
It's too far away for me.
I will be away that week.
This trip could pop up.
And I think we should call it right now that we won't have a meeting on the 25th. It's a leap, but, and if we need a special meeting, you can always call it some other time. Okay. Any member agenda inputs for future meetings? Besides what we already know, like,
I think we're booked up.
good. Any public comment?
I just want to remind all our listeners,
Good.
because of some of our guests that came and spoke tonight, that we do not receive any tax dollars to run the sewer system. That misconception can lead to a lot of misunderstandings on why the fees exist the way they do. But we are a completely financially self-sufficient entity, and all the monies we collect are the monies that are used to run the sewers, and we do not receive any other funds. No tax dollars. Just think it might help people understand better.
Yeah,
Well done, well done.
I agree.
That's a good statement. I would encourage you to maybe make it at the beginning of a meeting even sometime.
A little placard.
I'll repeat next time at the beginning.
Thank you. It'll be even better, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay. No more public comment. I take a motion to adjourn,
Second.
All right. So move, second.
whatever that was. Good. Thank you very much, and Thank you all in Lunenburg. Mark your calendars for the hearings, and have a good night.